You know, a lot of people tell me, I don't have any money, how can I get started in real estate? So let's talk about how much money do you need to get started in real estate? You know, we're going to talk about the three most important things in terms of money and getting started in real estate. And I just want to congratulate you because you've already started with no money because you're watching this video and you're learning how to make money. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to get money to get started in real estate and exactly how much cash you should have depending on what you're buying. So let's dive right in. So right now, you've started in real estate. Okay, you haven't bought anything. You haven't gone out and got a loan. You haven't done anything yet, right? But you're learning, you're watching the video, which means what? You're a winner, because winners watch and learn, all right? Know that about yourself, that you're capable of doing this, and you are doing this. You're actually doing it, right? Most people talk, few do. So you are one of the doers. So how much money do you need to get started in real estate? $1,000, you can start in a REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust, okay? And you can be invested in real estate. No money down. You could do a lease option where you give just a little bit of money but no down payment for a deposit and to rent a place with an option to buy it later. That's called a lease option. It's a longer conversation, but it means basically you're renting a property like you would any other property you rent, but you have an option to buy it at a fixed price today over a period of time, okay? It doesn't require much money, does it? Another way to get started in real estate and use a lot of money is to syndicate, all right? Syndicate means to raise capital from other investors. You would take a piece of it by finding the property, putting the deal together, and your other investors would bring the cash. So let's take 4 people involved in a deal. Maybe you take 25%, and the other 4 investors take 25% each. They say, well, 25%. Well, 100% of nothing is nothing. 25% of something is better than nothing, right? So they put up the cash, you find the deal, you put the loan together, and you close the deal, and you manage the deal, and they are your partners. Now, or they could have varying other roles in the deal, depending upon how you work it out. But that situation requires you to put up no money, but a lot of time. Right? So they put up the cash, you put up the time. By the way, don't take their money for the deposit and not have the down payment money and lose the deposit. Make sure you don't do that, okay? Have it all together, all worked out when you get the property. So when we talk about how much money you need to get started in real estate, it's a wide number. I mean, it could be very little to nothing to millions of dollars, right? It depends on what you're buying. I think most of you watching this video are newbies or people that just want to learn a little bit more about real estate. Maybe you own some things, maybe you don't. But let's talk about some of the different levels of investing. We talked about REITs already. Let's talk about syndicators and qualified investors. Qualified investors would have something like $250,000 or $1 million net worth typically, and they may want to invest 25, 50, 100, 150, 200,000 in cash into a deal that somebody else manages and runs as a limited partner, meaning they don't necessarily control the day-to-day operations, but they are invested and have a stake in the property and would usually get cash flow as a result of that investment, okay? So there is, how much money would you need for that? Typically, the minimum is usually about $25,000 up to, millions of dollars, depending on the size of the deal and what's being done. How much money do you need to get started in, say, a single family home? If you're gonna live in it, maybe nothing. If you're a veteran, you could buy a property with no money down potentially. If you are a first-time home buyer, you may be able to get a Federal Housing Authority loan or FHA loan with 3.5% down. In some cases, you would only need 5% down. So on a $100,000 property, you need $5,000 plus closing costs, typically 3 to 4%. But you may be able to get the seller to finance that with a seller credit to the buyer. Seller credits buyer $4,000 towards closing costs. So instead of having to come up with the $4,000 closing plus the $5,000 down, which is $9,000, you only have to come up with $5,000 because the seller's crediting you the $4,000. If you're buying something, say like a $450,000 or a $500,000 property, you may have to come up with a little more money if it's multiple units. Say it's 3 or 4 units, you may have to put 25% down. So that's how much you would need on that deal, unless it was owner occupied. So if you're buying a 4-unit building and you were going to live in one of the units, you can use the rent from the other 3 units as income, usually 75% of whatever the rent is, as income to help you qualify for the 4-unit building. I talk about it in another video elsewhere where I had a friend of mine, he couldn't qualify for a $169,000 house, but he could qualify for a $330,000 fourplex. And he's like, I don't understand. What he didn't understand was the income from the other 3 units got him more borrowing ability, because that income was going to be provided every month to make the payment on the mortgage, and he could live in one of the units, which is what he did. So an owner-occupied fourplex. So in that case, he needed 3.5% down. On a $330,000 purchase, 3.5%, roughly $11,000 or $12,000. He got into a fourplex, okay? So how much you need really depends on the amount of property you're buying, the structure of the deal, and the quality of the deal. So let's talk about structure. How do you structure the deal? If you're buying a home or a fourplex or a smaller deal, even sometimes a larger deal, you try to get the seller to credit you some closing costs, which helps you to come up with less cash to get into the deal. So I'm in the middle of buying a property for, say, $7.5 million. It's a big apartment complex, okay? I'm gonna pay 1% on the loan, which is $60,000. So I'm getting this deal for 20% down. I'm using private money. Normally I would need more down, right? So I'm getting a $6 million loan, 1%, $60,000, okay? Well, I may ask the seller for credit for $60,000 to pay that. So now instead of having to come up with the 20% plus $60,000, I only have to come up with the 20%, okay? Take a zero away. Say I'm buying a property for $750,000. Same thing, putting 20% down, I'm getting a $600,000 loan. I'm paying 1% or $6,000, okay? I may have the seller pay that $6,000 by asking in the contract for credit. So you see how we can reduce the amount of money that I need to get into the deal by asking for credits or who pays closing costs? Now let's talk about the down payment of $150,000. If it's $750,000 property, I need $150,000 for 20% down because it's an investment property. Can I bring in a partner? Yes. Can I bring in an investor? Yes. Can I get the money elsewhere? Can I borrow the money on another property? Yes. So all of these things are possible. You have to check with your mortgage broker and be creative in structuring the deal. So structure of deal and how you set it up is very important. Now the last thing is, how much money do you need to get into a real estate deal? Also depends on your horsepower, okay? If you have, like me, a long track record of using private money, they may lend me up to 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the money to fix it up, because they know fixed up, the property's worth more money. So they'll release that money little by little as I fix up the property, right? So are you able to do this? Potentially you are. This is why you want to go out and make relationships with lenders and find out what sort of money is available to you and what the cost of that money is. As you find out the cost of that money, you will then be able to determine your numbers and your analysis on the property. That being, how much income is it going to bring in? How much is my mortgage? And how much is my expenses, like taxes and maintenance and water and electricity and gas and vacancy and all the other things that go along with owning a property. So when you ask the question, how much money do I need to get started in real estate? The answer is, it depends. It can be anywhere from nothing to millions of dollars depending on what you're buying and how you structure the deal. But I would say this, the best way for you to learn how to structure deals is to get around people who are doing real estate and learn how they structure deals. Talk to people, be involved with people, be in the real estate business, be around realtors, be around mortgage brokers, learn the business, go to investment clubs, okay? Watch my videos, and don't forget to subscribe, because in subscribing you're going to continue to get free information. Comment if you like. If you think I'm crazy, comment. You think I'm helping you, comment. It'd be great to have a comment. But most importantly, watch and learn and earn. And I'm not the only one on the internet. There's other people you can watch as well. But I really deal with a lot of stuff that people that are smaller investors or beginning investors deal with, like, you know, homes, 1 to 4 unit buildings, small apartment buildings, okay? I'm not buying, you know, 60 million, 80 million, 100 million, 150 million dollar deals, which is a small percentage of the real estate investors, okay? Most real estate investors, mom and pop real estate investors, are sort of like me. They own properties, they own smaller properties, and they grow into bigger properties. And over a period of decades or years, they end up building a nice portfolio, okay? So in the next video, we're gonna talk about how to get started in real estate flipping.